welcome back to my channel, Babbling Bookbird, and on today's video I will be reviewing House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. Now this will be a non-spoiler review, so there's going to be no spoilers here. I've decided that I would prefer to just do non-spoiler reviews from now on. So that's what I'm going to do, starting with this book. I didn't know what to expect going into this book. I heard it was her first adult fantasy. And obviously I knew of her popular works like Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses. But apart from that, I'd never read a Sarah J Maas book before. So I was really new going into this. I did not know what to expect. From looking at other booktubers, it was like 50% of them said they loved it or hate it. It's kind of, her work seems to be sort of like Marmite, like you either, as I said, love it or hate it. So I wasn't sure which camp I'd be in, if I was going to be in either of those camps. Because sometimes, you know, books that people have such a strong feeling for, I sometimes don't have that. So I wasn't sure what to expect with this. And I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, from the outset, I was very intrigued. I love supernatural creatures, mythology, and the fact that it incorporates so many different kinds of supernatural creatures in this book was, like, really, you know, really intrigued me. I was really, I had my hopes up that I was going to like it. Intrigued by the offset. So anyway, let's just get into my review. Enough of me rambling on. So the first thing I want to say about this review, and I'm using my old 2020 review book, because that's now changed, thankfully, is that I really enjoy the story. It was like one of my favourite 2020 books of the year. It was my favourite. I'm a massive fantasy reader anyways, or at least that's what I'm beginning to learn about myself. So it just ticked off so many boxes for me. And we'll go through them now. So for the character development of this, it was so good. Like, it was amazingly done. Like, if you want a book that's kind of character development driven, this is a really good book to pick up. Just for that, if that's what you're interested in. The main character, Bryce, her character development from the start of the book to the end is so well crafted. It's a beautiful journey that she goes on, from recovering from grief and loss and her past. And as a mirror to that, the other character that you get introduced to this book is Hunt, and a lot of his feelings that are linked to his past, he also grows throughout the story, and I really love that. I felt like it was very realistic as well. Like, even though it's a deep fantasy world, there was still humanity at the core of the story, and that's what I really loved. The pacing I thought was really good in this too. It was pretty consistent. There were just some times where it was a little bit slow, but pacing was pretty decent. I gave it 4 out of 5. And as I said before, the world development, beautiful, absolutely incredible. Really loved getting to know all the supernatural creatures. How they all came together felt really well crafted and really well done. Like, it made sense how she set up the world. And I love the little tidbits that we got of, like, demons and hell, because I think that's something I'm really interested in, seeing how she explores that form of mythology. So I don't want to go this is a non-spoiler review, so I'm going to try and keep it as non-spoilerish if I can. But yeah, I really love the world and how she built it all together. It's very well crafted. I love the language. There's so many beautiful quotes in here, which I would say, but this is a non-spoiler review. But look, there was so many beautiful stuff in this. So many beautiful quotes that you could really, I don't know, just latch onto. And it felt very, like, there was quotes in this that I really connected to, and that just made me feel so much more connected with Sarah J Maas's book and her work. It was amazing. And the plot, yeah, like, yeah, I think the plot was probably a little bit the weakest aspect of the story. There were times where it got quite confusing, a bit too confusing than what it really needed to be. And I think at times that could put a reader off, I think, if you were trying her work or trying this story anyways. And I do think that there was a lot of characters in this. Definitely, there's like tons of characters trying to keep track of. And I can easily see why that can put someone off this story. I think it definitely would have benefited from having a couple of pages at the end of the book. Yeah, a couple of pages at the end of the book that would just outline who's who and who's connected to each house. Somewhat similar to how George R.R. Martin does with his work of Song of Ice and Fire. At the end of each book, it has like a list of who's who, who's in what houses, and so on. And that's really helpful if you're building a massive big fantasy world with lots of characters, because it is important, especially if you're, you briefly get to see, let's say, you meet one character who's like a side character in book 1, but then becomes much more important in book 3, that character can then get overlooked, and then the readers can be really confused when they get to see him or her again, or they, get to see them again. So it's important to have that, I think, just to help the reader understand who's who. And it also helps to explain like why a conversation between two characters is really important. So yeah, I think that it needed that. It needed something at the end as just like a character, like who's who, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't have one. Nope, it doesn't have one. So definitely needs that. It does have a bit of information, I think, at the start of... Yeah, it has one page which goes into the 4 houses of Midgard. Midgard is the place. Which is, of course, House of Earth and Blood, which is what this book's based on. House of Sky and Breath, House of Many Waters, and House of Flame and Shadow. So it has a page that just talks really briefly about some of the houses, but nothing about the individual characters. And I think having it at the end would be really good. So that was my one criticism of it, and the pacing. So that's kind of 2. But everything else, it was absolutely beautiful. I really loved it, and I honestly can't wait to, read more of Sarah J Maas's work. I really need to read Throne of Glass and that series, and I also really need to read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I love anything to do with the Fae mythology anyway, so that's really intriguing to me. I gave this book a 23 out of 25. So for me, it got 92%, which is 5 stars. I have changed my rating system. I should just let you know. So books need now over 90% to get 5 stars. Because I came to the realization that a lot of books were having a lot of 5 stars, and I realized it was to do with my scoring system. So I've tightened that up to make it a bit more difficult, which I think would help a lot. But yeah, 92%, 5 stars, really loved it. If you want a fantasy read, pick this up, unless you know for a fact you don't like Sarah J Maas's writing style, which is totally fine, because different writing styles suit different people. So yeah, definitely pick this up. I'm looking forward to the second one of this series. Crescent City is going to be hopefully a really well crafted world, really well crafted series, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what Sarah J Maas does next. So yeah. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.